is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Welcome to my program, The Bridge, a monthly show bridging different cultures, communities, and faith traditions. Watch The Bridge on America's Voice of the Arabs Network on all social media platforms.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis. Welcome to another great episode of the program, The Bridge, on US Arab Radio. Today, my guest is very special. Nada Odeh is a Syrian visual artist, activist, humanitarian, and modern-day poet. She is also a curator and an art educator, so she has a lot to tell us about her artistic career, her work as an artist, as also an educator, as someone who's been doing activism also for the Syrian cause and for humanitarian work at large. Welcome to the show, Nada, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Sahar, for having me on the show. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you, and really thank you so much for giving us your time.
Yeah.
I want to start with you just telling our audiences, listeners, and viewers everywhere, just a little bit about yourself, right? About your own life, your upbringing, your childhood. I know that you were born and raised in Damascus, Syria, then you moved to different places. But if you just want to give our listeners and viewers a bit of a brief idea about your childhood, about your upbringing, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Damascus, Syria, as you mentioned. And I think I was very lucky to have wonderful parents who loved the arts and culture and music. I think I started, creating artwork when I was 3 years old. And since I was that time, my parents made sure that they have us go to every cultural performances, art exhibits, go to art classes, swimming classes. So I think my childhood was between art classes, swimming classes, going to all Damascus and cultural and art performances. So that's how my whole memories is built on. So
wow. So it seems like your parents really played a very important role in terms of your love for arts.
Exactly, they did that. They were very supportive, and they want to make sure that we have all this exposure in the art world. And specifically my mom actually, she took art classes with the famous Syrian artist Adham Ismail, and she was 16 years old, and I think everything she learned from him, she taught me, and it felt like he is teaching me, and I have like a blog about it, how she basically transferred the experience of his art to me. So both of them, they were very supportive. So yeah,
that's great. That's wonderful. And that takes me to my next question. Are we born instinctively, naturally, as artists, whether we are painters, musicians, or is that something that we can really learn and acquire over the years? Or is it both, a mixture of a talent we are born with, as well as something we nurture over time?
So I think art is part of it. Maybe it's in your blood, it's in your genes. But also big part of it is dedication and practice, And I think many people think they have the talent, but they don't want to work more. And some people, they want to work more, but they do not have, there is something inside every artist that it's hard to to explain. And I think the best person to describe exactly how artists feel or think is Khalil Gibran. If you go back to his books, he's amazing in describing the inner self and how artists and thinkers, writers, musicians, how they think and how they behave. But you never know. Sometimes kind of talents sometimes are silenced for a long time, but then you will feel at some point of life, you will find for example, I read about this woman who's 80 years old, and she started making artwork with markers. So that's kind of, it doesn't, you don't know when you will have it out of the bubble inside you or out of the box. So I think it's just the time when it comes out. And I think that's what happened with me. My parents, made sure that it comes out early, you know. So that's why I was able to practice it since I was 3 years old.
Yeah, I'm asking this question also for a personal interest, because I was a very good painter and artist when I was young. Like
Yeah.
in school, my classmates will say, "Wow, you know, you have these beautiful, you know, doodles in your books and everything." But I did
Yeah.
not really invest in nurturing this particular talent
Yeah.
over the years. I did not go to art classes. I did not practice painting and so on. So am I doomed as an artist, or do I still have some hope of reviving my talents?
Oh no. I think you still, no, it's like I think it's very nice that you go back to art and see where it takes you. I think I always tell my friends and everyone I know, sketchbook is your friend. Whenever you have a sketchbook, keep it with you and keep, like, you know, take it with you everywhere and start sketching and doodling, because then you will build up, and then you want to think like, do you want to make paintings? Do you want to do sculpture? Do you want to do, like, what form of art you're looking into? So that helps a lot, you know. But sketchbook, the start will be in sketchbook, and gradually you will go back to where you want to be. So
Okay, now I know the first step for me, for my redemption as an artist, is my sketch,
yes.
right?
I'd love to see your artwork.
That's really a very important thing, that we think about, you know, our own careers and our own lives and hobbies, and not neglecting our hobbies just because we are so, you know, really busy with our practical lives. I think that's a good advice for everybody.
Yeah, and the environment, I would just want to add that environments helps a lot. It depends on what type of environment you grew in, because also I understand in the Arab world, like there isn't a lot of I don't want to say appreciation, but I think like it's not like really considered like a career, art, you know. So I think that's why maybe families or many people do not like perceive it, because it's not like considered like a career. So
exactly.
yeah.
Like you think, oh, you have to be a doctor or an engineer, but when you think about other you know, careers, like I want to be an artist, like, oh, what would that be like? How are you going to make a living?
Where are you going to make? You're going to paint walls?
Exactly. Are you going to paint on walls? So I think that we need also a lot of education. We'll come to education later in the discussion. Education about art and the importance of arts. I think that's very, very important.
Yes.
Now, I know that your you know, artistic skill really has been something that you have been combining also with your activism. Like in the introduction, I said that you are a visual artist. I also said that you are an activist, and you're also a poet. So I want to know this combination between art and activism. How did that actually play out for you in terms of your own career? What did this kind of combination look like in your own work?
So like what happened when the Syrian war revolution started back in 2011, I think it's kind of ignited this you know, like this desire to reflect a lot on the Syrian crisis. And I saw that many artists like, you know, focusing on like the idea of like that war, blood, you know, like destruction. And then we had the refugee crisis, and I looked at the issues that's going on and how refugees were going on, and like, you know, and being involved in many organizations that helped me kind of form how I want my art to look like. So when I started, one of the first painting that I created regarding refugees, that was in 2013, and it's part of a group of artwork. It's called Royalty in Refugee Camps. So that's this painting. It's called I Am a Princess, which is a very simple painting that talks about a little girl who dreamed to become a princess, but then she lives in a refugee camp, and then she's like just like any other girl, she has her own dreams. I think that's like, you know, this start of artwork and how I wanted to get refugees and many people who go to camps to look like and to be respected, kind of affected how people, like, you know, perceive me as an artist, and like how like I was able to do workshops about activism because of this artwork. And that's like kind of was the start of a new portal that was very important to me.
I know that a lot of your work, of course, naturally, because you are Syrian yourself, has been about the Syrian crisis in general, and the Syrian refugee crisis in particular. If you can give us an idea about some of the most important types of work you have done in that particular domain, combining both artistic work, visual arts in this case, with activism, like, for example, exhibitions, museums, some of the most important undertakings that you have really done in that particular regard.
So regarding my art or regarding my curatorial work?
Yes, both of them.
Both of them. So like for my art, as I said, like I started this like collection of artwork, and it's called Royalty in Refugee Camp. It's about like, there is around like 8 pieces in it. And one of the most like, you know, favorite artwork for everyone loves this artwork. It's called I Am Syria. And it reflects how I see Syria as like kind of a very diverse in religion place, and like how, you know, there is diversity in it. And that's how I want people to see Syria, especially in 2015. Many people thought like the Syrians who come to the United States or who live in Syria or leave Syria, they mostly are Muslims. And I wanted to show that Syria is a combination of different religions. It's not only one religion. And that's very important to know, to show the mosaic that we lived in. So that's one of the pieces. And I think this is like one of the directions. The other thing is like I curated like an online exhibit for like, you know, for Syrian artists and American artists, and it's called Artists for Syria. And this online exhibit that highlights the, you know, like what's happening in Syria right now. And there is also like, you know, focus on the earthquake that happened recently in Syria and Turkey. So the artwork is done by, there is one American artist and the rest are Syrians. And there is like also a singer, Dylan Connor, and Mark Nelson, Itab Hrib, Saad Fansa, myself, also Nasib Nwelati. They're all like, you know, they all have those like, you know, talents. So I want to combine everyone and put it in one online exhibit. And it's called the Artists for Syria. This is one of the things. Also, like I did a lot of workshops about like, you know, under, you know, art and activism for Human Rights Academy here in Buffalo, which is a beautiful organization that educates, you know, teens and youth, young youth about like activism and social justice. And I did a lot of, in my workshops, I did a lot of education regarding how to perceive social justice through art. And like, you know, I showed them like example of posters and designs I made and things I did. So there's a lot of, you know, a lot of that. And I can keep talking from now till the morning, but I don't want to bore you and bore everyone there.
It's certainly not boring at all. I think that you're beautifully building a number of important bridges. One
Yes,
bridge
exactly.
is definitely a transnational, international bridge between different artists who are really caring about the Syrian crisis as the most important and most impactful humanitarian crisis in modern times. And at the same time, you are building a bridge between different types of art, which is really very interesting. So I see it as this kind of mosaic, like you said. Even your description of Syria itself as a diverse mosaic is very impactful. So that's very, very interesting. We'll come back to this very important discussion right after this commercial break. Stay tuned, please.
هل تلقى أطفالكم أحدث نسخة من لقاح كوفيد-19؟ لقد تم لغاية اليوم تطعيم أكثر من 5.5 مليار شخص بلقاح كوفيد-19، وأثبتت النتائج أن اللقاحات كانت فعالة، حيث قام الخبراء حول العالم بإجراء الاختبارات اللازمة ليكون اللقاح آمناً وفعالاً. اللقاح لا يحميكم أنتم وعائلتكم فقط، بل يحمي المجتمع كله. قوموا بواجبكم من خلال التحدث إلى مقدمي الخدمات الصحية أو زيارة michigan.gov/kids-covid-vaccine. رسالة من وزارة الصحة والخدمات الإنسانية في ميشيغان.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bonham, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
فاضي شوية نشرب قهوة في حتة بعيدة عزمني على نكتة جديدة وخلي حساب الضحكة عليا يا ما نفسي أعيش إنسان قلبه على كفه كل اللي بردانين في كفوفه يتدفوا
حمزة نمرة يجدو بأحلى الألحان في أمريكا.
تغير ياما عن زمان قافل على قلبك البيبان حبيت وفرقت كم مكان عايش جواك.
حمزة نمرة وجولة غنائية يبدأها يوم 8 سبتمبر في واشنطن العاصمة و9 سبتمبر في ديربورن ميشيغان، وآخر حفلاته يحييها في شيكاغو بولاية إلينوي 10 سبتمبر. وسيتم تخصيص العائدات بالكامل لإرسال مساعدات إنسانية إلى سوريا واليمن والسودان.
عامل قاسي وجوايا مفيش قسوة ماليش غير قسوتي عزوة بتدوا الحق للأقوى وبتيجوا تملي عالطيب.
وتدعو منظمة الحياة للإغاثة والتنمية Life for Relief and Development جمهور الحفلات لزيارة الجناح المخصص لها بموقع كل حفل للتعرف على مشاريعها التنموية والإغاثية والتي تسهم في تقديم المساعدات للآلاف من المحتاجين حول العالم. ولمعرفة المزيد عن أنشطة منظمة الحياة زوروا موقعهم على lifeusa.org. ولمزيد من المعلومات حول الحجوزات وأماكن الحفلات زوروا الموقع الخاص بالحجز على www.roguevirtue.com.
قولي عاوز يجاوبني وروح لحالك ليه تعبني مرة واحدة سيبني أمشي وأدوس على الماضي الأليم.
This is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Welcome to my program, The Bridge, a monthly show bridging different cultures, communities, and faith traditions. Watch The Bridge on America's Voice of the Arabs Network on all social media platforms.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis, and we're discussing today the combination of art and activism to serve Syria and to serve humanity as a whole. And today, my guest is Syrian activist and artist Nada Odeh. Nada, also one of the interesting things about you is the combination of visual art with other forms like calligraphy and also poetry. I've actually played one of your own poems in my classes, and the class was about narratives and storytelling at the University of Maryland. So it was very much fitting into the theme of what I was doing and discussing in that particular class. So you were really showing your visual art, and at the same time, you're also reciting a very beautiful poem. So if you can talk a little bit about this combination of visual arts with calligraphy, for example, and also poetry, and how that can be in service of humanity at large and the Syrian cause in particular.
So in general, like, I believe like one of the problems that we face as Syrians and as Arabs in general is the idea of Arabic writing, right? So the Arabic writing, I think many events happened in the United States, especially after 9/11, I would say. Some people like kind of fear the Arabic calligraphy or Arabic words. And in my opinion, and I think it's not only my opinion, Arabic calligraphy and poetry is one. So that's why like it's all connected and combined. When I do Arabic calligraphy, it's just like kind of, I talk about Damascus, I talk about Syria, I talk about refugee crisis. So it's an entrance to other things or stories that I want to tell, and I want to share with the audience, with the participant in my workshops, with everyone. I even did like, you know, workshops about Syrian textiles art, and like we did something. It's kind of like how, as you mentioned, how do you build a bridge with other humans? You gotta like, you know, bring them together through things and experiences that they know, right? Things like, you know, for example, when you talk about calligraphy, I described why Arabic calligraphy became so important in Islam as a beautiful form of decorative art. And because at the same time in Europe, in the medieval ages, they used a lot of figurative art, and that was not allowed in Islam. So that's why like you see a lot of like mosques, lots of patterns, lots of, you know, like lots of buildings, there's a lot of Arabic calligraphy on it, and even vegetal art, something similar to what you're wearing right now, Sahar, a beautiful like, you know, galabia with those patterns. I think it's just like what is the entrance to human experience? How do we reach out to another human if we do not like, you know, like you need to create a narrative that's close to them, you know? When we talk about patterns, when we talk about embroidery, when we talk about calligraphy, when we talk about forms of art, it's not separated from the Syrian crisis. It's all connected. You know, it's all connected because we lack the way to communicate with each other, and we lack the way to express to each other, you know. So that's how I see it. So it's all connected: poetry, calligraphy, vegetal art, activism. It's one form, but you can create something with it. So
absolutely, and you can create a lot of very creative, very compelling and eye-catching stuff, like we have in communication and media saying that's very famous, like, you know, one picture is worth 1,000 words. And I would say nowadays in the modern age, when everything is becoming digital and everything is becoming visual, that one picture can really equal 1,000,000 words, right? So
words, exactly.
Yeah, through art and through drawings and paintings and calligraphy and music, all of these forms of artistic expression, you can say things that might be very difficult to say through words.
Exactly. So you kind of create like some type of connection with the other human, which is like, this is what I'm trying to do. I do also workshops about, it's called community. One of the workshops actually that I did is called Community and Color. Let's make art together. And this is like kind of every person in the room was talking about their own community, about their own heritage, about like, you know, I do a lot of these things. Other workshops I did, we are immigrants, and it's a project like to remind many people like everyone came to the United States as an immigrant. No one was here only except the Native Americans and African Americans who were brought here as slaves. Everyone else came as an immigrant. So that's like kind of a reminder for everyone.
Right. So the idea of the mosaic again, right, with the Syrian society, but also definitely with the American society, right? So this kind of diversity and everybody coming from somewhere else. I love this idea of expressing your own identity and who you are through art and artistic expression.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nada, I also read in your bio that you are a curator. Now, that's a term that may not be familiar to a lot of people. They would be like, what does that mean? So if you can just shed some light on that particular term, what does it actually mean? And can you give us some examples for it, please?
Yes, for sure. Usually curators are people who appreciate art, and they're kind of artists inside themselves. They are somehow artists, and maybe they practice art. They have the ability to create a narrative that tells a story, and then create and select artwork to put it in an exhibit. Like, for example, if you go to the National Portrait Gallery, there is a curator who curated all this experience for you to see. So when you go to the museum, you will see like artwork on the walls or objects on the walls, and that's like kind of make the person to go from one object to another, from one artwork to another, because they want to they want to know what's the story, you know. So that's kind of that's what curators do. Basically, they are visual storytellers that create visual and art experiences for audiences and you know, people to enjoy and to learn from other people's experiences. So.
Would it be fair to also describe them as the designers and organizers of different types of art? Like if you have an exhibition, for example, and sometimes we get lost in these exhibitions, myself included, and you don't know, the stuff is like too much, like what am I going to see? What, you know, what am I going to not see? You know, this kind of stuff. Like you said now, if you connect, for example, this particular part of the museum, or this particular part of the exhibition deals with the theme of immigration. And the other one, for example, deals with the theme of freedom. And so on. Then the curator is the one who actually links and connects the dots and organizes the pieces of art together, so that the ordinary viewers and you know people who visit these exhibitions, the audiences, are not lost. They're somehow finding themes that link the art. Is that a close to correct?
No, that's actually perfect description, honestly. And I just want to add, curators depends where they are working. If it's small organizations, they're going to be part of everything, like maybe even logo design, like, you know, designing the walls, like, you know, installing the artwork, even like doing collection management. If it's a big organization like the National Portrait Gallery in DC, that's like kind of, there is people who are curators, for example, like maybe Middle Eastern art, curators for European art. So they have special roles. There's collection managers, there are archivists, you know. So there is a lot of things, even exhibition design, but it depends, as I said, the curator depends what's the size of the organization they are working on. So
right. You have to think about the size of the organization, also the mission, right? And the vision of the organization. What is this organization all about, and what is the mission of this particular organization? All of that, I'm sure, also makes a difference in terms of, okay, what is it that you're trying to, you know, present or promote or advocate, right?
Exactly. Like, for example, when I did my work with the Museum of Palestinian People in DC, I basically curated the art exhibits and, like, you know, the collections. I reach out to donors and ask for pieces, and we also like kind of received many donations, and I organized it and I labeled it and I gave appreciation of, like, you know, what is the date and, like, you know, how much, how old is it? So like there is different, as I said, different ways. So one of my projects was the Museum of Palestinian People in DC. Yeah.
Fantastic. I did see on your bio and also on your website that you did do a lot of exhibitions and a lot of you know, artistic performances in different parts of the world. What were some of the most important, most remarkable, I would say, and impactful exhibitions that you've actually done? Like you mentioned one of them now. What were some of the others that you really felt like, oh, this is my darling, my baby, these are my most precious ones?
Exhibitions that I participated as an artist,
or you have done yourself. Like I know that you have done your own exhibitions.
So there are many beautiful exhibits that I really appreciate, but one of them specifically, if it was like a solo exhibit, there was like a small gallery in Syracuse, and it's called 914 Works. And I was able to work with the gallery manager. He was wonderful working with me, and he basically provided all support that I need. Like, he was making sure that I receive great, you know, attendance for my opening. But I want to say that exhibit, I had more freedom because he was very collaborative with me. Basically, me and him, we curated the exhibit together, and I think it came out so beautifully, and I have very good memories about it. So that's one of my best exhibits, and it's called My Voyage, I Float. And it's like, you know, and I did the poster like a sketch of someone trying to, you know, float. And floating is not like real, but it's like a metaphor for how I feel as a Syrian woman trying to survive after leaving my home country. Yeah.
Beautiful. My voyage afloat. This is really nice. Yeah. Voyage being my journey or my trip.
Unfortunately, the gallery manager passed away, and I was really sad. He was wonderful, and yeah, he was great. So
I hope you find other opportunities like that one as well. That would be very nice.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, I also know that you studied art, visual arts. You have a BA in fine arts from Damascus, from Syria, and you do have a master's degree in museum studies from the United States. So we talked at the beginning of this interview about education.
Yeah.
So you did not just stop at the level of, okay, I'm talented. My parents were really encouraging me to be an artist. I like drawing and sketching. You did go into studying visual arts in your BA and then studying museum studies in your MA. So you can tell us a little bit about the importance of this education and the importance of these particular degrees in terms of polishing your own skills and talents and abilities as an artist.
Yes. So, of course, like, going to the Fine Arts College and like learning more art and like having polished, as you mentioned, was very important to my practices because like it taught me a lot of things about like color, about like, form, shape, drawing, illustration, designing, creating, beautiful images, creating posters. So like, it gave me like different perspectives through the 4 years that I attended in college. I just want to say like my parents didn't have a choice but to get me into art school because I think I was expressing myself through art a lot. So like going to like college, doing art, making art, and was very natural result of my whole life. When I came to United States, I was a mother, like I had my 2 kids with me, but I wanted to do my master's degree in, so I kept like looking for colleges and looking for opportunities. And then I applied for a scholarship through a Syrian organization called Jusur, and it's called 100 Syrian Women, 10,000 Lives. And it's given for Syrian women who have leadership qualities. So I received that, and that was like in 2016. I was able to go to Syracuse University in Syracuse and earn my master's degree in museum studies. I had wonderful, like, professors and, teachers, educators who were supportive and helping in every second. And that was like, magnificent. I think like learning, like going to museum studies, basically it teaches us a lot about like how to design an exhibit, how to curate an exhibit, how to create frames, like colors, how we want your exhibit to look like. That affected my, like how I'm, like when I'm making artwork and I always imagine it hung on a wall. Like how it's going to look like on a wall, how they're going to hang it, how they're going to put it in a frame. So that helps me a lot, like, visualize and like, think about my artwork, like displayed in a gallery, in a museum, or in maybe anywhere. Like, one of the exhibits that I participated in was like art in the windows. And that was like, through the pandemic. So it was also a beautiful thing. And so it's always like, it's always very helpful to have all those skills, to teach you how to be like, an artist that people love to exhibit their artwork with, So that's the thing. It's contributed a lot to my experience and to creating artwork.
I love this, and it really takes us back full circle to our very, very first question about, are you born an artist, or do you really polish and nurture your own skills and educate yourself and learn more? And obviously, it's really a combination of both.
Exactly.
And the idea of education and learning more about it is definitely an enrichment, and it helps you to polish your skills even more. We'll come back to this very interesting discussion right after this commercial break. Stay tuned, please.
Clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want
5-year-old Lila and her mom are on their way home from Grandma's, singing Lila's favorite song. A few blocks away, 25-year-old Dylan is visiting friends at a small party. He finishes off his last beer,
Later, skater.
gets in his truck, and starts for home. Mom and Lila turn onto Maple Street.
If you're happy and you
So does Dylan.
If you're happy
Every 50 minutes in the United States, someone dies in a crash involving a driver impaired by alcohol or drugs. If you're impaired and you know it, don't drive. Drive sober. A message from the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning.
At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain. With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600.
Ziad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziad.com. That's www.ziad.com. Ziad, quality products from our family to yours.
This is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Welcome to my program, The Bridge, a monthly show bridging different cultures, communities, and faith traditions. Watch The Bridge on America's Voice of the Arabs Network on all social media platforms.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis, another great episode on the program, The Bridge on US Arab Radio. And we're talking today about art and activism in the service of humanity. This is a conversation with Syrian visual artist and activist Nada Odeh. Nada, actually, you know that, for example, journalists and activists, sometimes they attract the attention of different governments and regimes, especially authoritarian or repressive regimes, when they engage in, for example, controversial writing or this kind of stuff. Is the same thing applicable also to artists? Like, for example, we've known in the past the example of the Palestinian artist Najil Ali and his tragic ending, one story among many. Is art also some kind of dangerous or risky business for those who want to engage in potentially controversial or sensitive topics, or not? What do you think?
I think it might be a little bit risky, but depends on how risky, you know. Like, for example, how am I, like, you know, approaching that, you know, narrative about, like, you know, activism. And I'm so happy that you brought up Najil Ali, because you were asking me about, like, you know, how was my upbringing, and, like, you know, how I was raised. And when I was going to art school, I remember one of my friends, he had like a book of Najil Ali of all his illustration, a beautiful book. And I took this book because back then, like we didn't have access to many books. So I took it and I did copies of the illustrations, and I kept looking at every, caricature that Najil Ali did. And I felt like every time I'm reading it and I'm looking at this, very smart narrative that he was talking about, he was criticizing a lot of issues in not only in the Arab, community, but also in the Palestinian and, Palestinian community and society and what's going on. And, he's very humanitarian, but he's very political. But it's also like, if you think about it, like, it's true, it's risky, but how can we make a change if we do not do that? In my opinion, artists have a great tool that they can do great changes in the world. They just need to express themselves and do not be afraid, because that's what's going on. That's why we have a dictatorship, regime in Syria. That's why we have, places that where is a lot of lack of freedom, and that's hard to continue, because we are in the 21st century. We should not have wars. We should not have this type of things that's happening. And that's why I think anyone like Najil Ali and even me, like, it's very important that we bring those issues. I can't compare myself, of course, to Najil Ali. Like, he's a big artist, and I'm hoping one day I'll be like him. Hopefully, I will not be ending like him, unfortunately.
No, hopefully not, inshallah.
Yeah. But I did one of I have a lot of skills, and one of my skills is creating things like on my iPad, on my computer. So I created like an artwork criticizing the relationship between Al-Assad and Putin, in Russia. And I called it sexual reproduction. And there's like also Hitler is included, because basically the three of them are focusing on a lot of control and a lot of dictatorship and a lot of, harsh decisions that affects many humans. And unfortunately, it's true. So I totally agree with the fact artists should be also activists.
Yes, yeah, and sometimes they take big risks. They take exactly. Big risks even to their own personal safety, just like journalists and freedom fighters and other activists. Art is indeed a form of activism, like your own experience is showing us. And hopefully there will be no risks to yourself, but these risks exist for artists, just like activists and journalists and others.
Exactly.
Nada, I also want to come back to the part about education in a different way. I also saw in your bio that you are also an art educator. So I want to get a little bit of a sense of where did you actually teach art, and to whom did you teach art? Like, shed some more light on Nada in the classroom, Nada in the workshop, Nada who's doing this kind of not just artistic work of her own, but also educating others about art. Where did you do this kind of education, and to whom and when?
So I still do. I teach art in schools. I taught middle school. I taught back in Syria. I taught in Dubai. I even did art tutoring in Saudi Arabia. It just, I think it's just like me, myself. I really like to teach certain populations, because I feel like I want to empower youth, So how do I do that? Through my art classes. I show them examples of artists, famous artists who are very powerful, who work so hard. They went through struggle, but they work so hard, and then they reach somewhere. So I tell them stories, I tell them narratives, and then I show them example, and I help them to empower their artistic skills. And that's me. And I totally believe in respecting every human, even if they are 5 or 6 years old. And that makes them when they feel the respect, they can hear back from me and they can listen to me. They understand that I am there for them. It's not like I'm just trying to, to just teach them and leave the place. But I also did a lot of art education for college students. It was through workshops, mostly workshops. and like, community members through like, libraries and things like that. So I take every opportunity to like teach about art and create art and make sure that the students perceiving art in a way that makes them more empowered. So
fantastic. So you did teach different levels, like from you said middle school, also college level, and you're still doing this kind of teaching up till now.
Yes, I do that. Yeah.
That's great. Very, very interesting. You also lived and worked in 4 different countries. Syria, your own birth country, of course. Also Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and now you landed in the United States, I believe, since 2013. So you've been here for the last 10 years. Tell me a little bit and tell the listeners and viewers about your experience living in these 4 different countries and what kind of impact did this have actually on your own art?
So it's very interesting because I lived in those countries like Syria. It's a very open space, as you know, but there's a lot of like, variety of people, and there's a lot of things that we learn. And, things like I attended performances, art exhibits. And when I left Syria, that was like 1998. I left Syria that time. It was very like, empowered with art. There was like, art galleries opening, like there was a lot of things going on. And like you go to opening receptions, you go to see artwork, great artists like Marwan Qassabashi, he had artwork, Omar Hamdi, great artist, Fatih al-Mudarris. So there was like a beautiful movement in Syria. When I moved to Dubai, I think there was also great movement, and that's affected, like how I looked into art from a different perspective. Like there is a contemporary art gallery. It's different from what we, like in Syria, we had galleries, but we didn't have something specific. And the artwork was going into certain direction that was reflecting certain beliefs and certain like, beliefs and values in the Syrian community, especially with focus on the Syrian art history. So that's something that I felt like there is differences between like when I went from Syria to Dubai. So when I went to Dubai, as I said, there was like art galleries. There was different type of movements in Dubai. In Sharjah, there was like, there were more focus on growing, like how to do an art museum, how to create more art, how to do art education. It's true, we had all of this in Syria, but we didn't have it with that specifics, So I think that was like kind of like going from one country, raised in a country where it felt like a huge, big museum, just like Cairo in Egypt, like Cairo and Damascus. You go, you see different, different eras. Like you see the Roman Empire, you see, you see Muslims, Islamic empires. You see like in your situation also in Egypt, you see also like the Egyptians and old Egyptians and all this like pharaohs and all those beautiful like, narratives and beautiful artifacts that you see every single day. And that's kind of like piles up like, in my brain, like the Arabic houses, the Naruj trees, the historical sites, the beautiful monuments, the carpet places, the copper shops everywhere. That's like, that's what's piling up in my memory. And then like, as I said, Dubai, then I left Dubai, we moved to Saudi Arabia, where it's a country of a lot of palm trees. There's a lot of dates, there's a lot of different culture with a lot of focus on Islamic culture. And that was very interesting to me because you see those different things. And I remember, I think I was one of the few people who went to the museum, the National Museum in Riyadh. I don't think many people knew about it. And it was pretty beautiful. Like, it's very simple. They had like, beautiful exhibits. Now Riyadh is a different place. They had small art galleries, but it was not too much, opened like now. Now they have more freedom. So I think those all experiences, those countries, added to my knowledge and my artistic views.
And now your last stop, the United States.
My United States was like was a very important it's a very important place to me because I learned a lot of things like I didn't learn before. So it's just like it's kept adding and adding and adding to my experience, which is beautiful.
Absolutely. It's like cumulative, right? You always accumulate new knowledge and new skills, and it builds on top of each other, which is like we're always having this kind of learning process throughout our lives. And obviously that's even more applicable if you are a sensitive artist like yourself who has good observation and looks around you and observes everything very carefully. One thing that really caught my attention is you participated and you gave a lot of education, and you really did take part in a number of workshops. One of these workshops was about therapeutic arts, therapeutic arts. And I did see the very interesting quote from you saying, when I paint, the whole world around me is muted. It's a very, very beautiful saying. Yes. So I want to explain to our listeners and viewers, what is this whole thing about therapeutic arts? How can art be therapeutic in its own self? And what did you mean when you said, when I actually paint, I feel that the whole world is muted?
It's just like so I'm going to start with what this means. It's truly when I start painting or making art, I go into this zone where I'm just so focused on the art making and I can't think about anything else. I can't hear, I don't see, I'm just seeing the artwork. And it's just like because I engage so much emotionally with the artwork, and sometimes, most of the times actually, I need it. And it took me a while to go back to art, because at some point when I was like, raising my two kids, I was not able to make art because I was so like, involved with taking care of them. So there was like 4 or 5 years I was not making art. So just like, it felt like something like suffocating me and I need to make art. So that's what it means, because there is something inside me that craving art. I want to make it and I have to make it, and it feels like something is missing from me if I do not make it. And if you want to think about art, like art and is something that you make with your own hands, right? You paint, this is like kind of all energy. So, and attending many workshops and like reading many things about art as a therapy made me like kind of more like focused and convinced that like art, when I'm making art, all the negative energy comes out of you and it keeps that like positive energy inside you. So that's the beautiful thing about it. I attended workshops back in 2013 in Lebanon. It's called Art as a Therapy for Syrian Refugees, and I was lucky to attend it, and it was free. It was organized by the United Nations through an organization called Abad, and we actually went to Baalbek, which is in Buqa Valley, in like I think it's southern Lebanon, I think. Yeah, and it was such a beautiful place where we had like this beautiful experiences, and we're going to workshop, making art, learning about how to practice art as a therapy. And I felt like that workshop was the start of me like kind of doing more things like that, because I felt like when I'm doing those things, I was relieved. So what I do, I don't call myself a therapist because I'm not certified art therapist, but I do a lot of therapy through my art, and I do a lot of art therapy through the art classes that I teach or the workshops. And that like, everyone, when I do a workshop, I design it in a certain way that people like comes in and then like, they see like information, and then suddenly they start making artwork and they get so engaged, and I create the environment for them to release everything. So everyone is like making art so relaxed, so like, calm. And that's kind of by itself, it helps a lot in creating therapy. So
absolutely. And I think in this day and age where everybody is suffering from anxiety and stress and burnout from work and all of that stuff, we do need this kind of therapeutic art and this kind of art therapy to make us feel better and be able to function better also in today's hectic world. We'll come back to this very interesting discussion right after this commercial break. Stay tuned, please.
Were you recently at the emergency room, urgent care, or at your doctor's office being told you need a hand, wrist, or elbow specialist? At the Katranji Hand Center, we offer the latest techniques in hand, wrist, and elbow care. From sports injuries to work injuries to everyday hand, wrist, and elbow problems, the specialists at Katranji Hand Center are here to get you back on track. Call us in East Lansing today at 517-332-4263 or visit us at katranjihandcenter.com to schedule your appointment today.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-538-9552. That number again is 248-538-9552, and the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937, 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
This is Dr. Sahar Khamis. Welcome to my program, The Bridge, a monthly show bridging different cultures, communities, and faith traditions. Watch The Bridge on America's Voice of the Arab Network on all social media platforms.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Sahar Khamis, another great episode on the program, The Bridge on US Arab Radio. And today we're talking about art and activism in the service of humanity. This discussion is with Syrian artist and activist Nada Odeh. Nada, I also saw in your bio that you attended a lot of workshops and took part in many workshops on folkloric arts or folklore arts. Again, that's another term or expression that may not be very familiar to all our listeners and viewers. Can you please explain to us what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so folklore arts is basically the things that that exist in the culture of a country, and it's kind of things that people do it every day or part of their living, their habits. So for example, Arabic calligraphy is considered folklore art, and that's what I mean by it. Folklore art is also the food that we make. So I did, for example, one of the things that I did is organizing, it's not like a workshop, like a kind of a small event with a museum in collaboration with the Smithsonian folklore organization and museums. And I did that kind of with focus on what's the folklore arts with the food and music. It's like kind of oud, for example, oud is a folklore art. This is thing. So that's folklore art, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
So you draw on things from for your own environment, like in this case, musical instruments, Arabic musical instruments like the oud, other forms of culture, calligraphy, and all of that is a form of folklore. And if you combine all of that together, it's a form of folkloric arts. And
Yes,
obviously it's
exactly.
another form of bridging or combining different forms of art together, which is, again, I believe is very interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Nada, you have a very important project right now, which is called Nada's Picassos. So if you can explain to our listeners and viewers, what is this project all about? What does it stand for? What is it really composed of? That would be great, please.
Yes, Nada's Picassos is like a project that I created back in Syria in 2010, I think, 2010. And I was attending like kind of project management workshops with like Shell company that was organizing it and the European Union. And we had to design a project, and and it was very focused on business. And I wanted something related to my experience and what I love to do. And I created Nada's Picassos. It's a project that focuses on teaching art, youth, and even adults, you know, but mostly children and youth, how to create art and learn about the history of art, and that art is like an entrance to different careers like design, architecture, you know, like communication, advertising, graphic design. So there's a lot of paths that takes, you know, the art, even fashion design. So I created that, and I kept working on it and adding to it, and I did workshops based on it. And I think, you know, people love it, you know, love the concept of it. So
that's fantastic. And it's still, of course, an ongoing project. You're working on it and contributing to it at the moment.
Yes, exactly. It's just like something that I keep doing, you know, because it's just like a method of art education that I created.
Fantastic. And if people want to see that Nada's Picassos, do they only see it on your website, or where else can they actually see it?
There is on my website, and there is on Instagram as well. And there is on Facebook if they want to go and see the workshops and how I teach kids art. Yeah.
Okay, so can you give us your website also for people who want to check it and to visit it? Yeah,
of course. My website is www.nadaodeh.com. Nada Odeh, you can NADAODEH.com. So
very good. And they can also follow you on Instagram and Facebook as well to watch this beautiful, beautiful Nada's Picassos. Now, I want to ask you quickly about the name. Why did you call it Nada's Picassos? Like the significance of the naming itself. Where did it come from and why?
Well, at some point, I really loved Pablo Picasso's work. And I still love his work. He has beautiful, wonderful art. And I chose this name because for a very specific reason. Like Pablo Picasso, he had like those different phases of his artwork through his life. So and even if you have like a book of his life, you will see like every 10 years he changed his style. And that was very interesting. And his style was like kind of evolving into different like you know, designs, and then it changed into something else, which is beautiful as well. And I thought like the best description for that is like, you know, portraying and focusing on his life. I just wanted to say like he was not really great with women. So after I learned more about his life, I was not like, you know, shall I keep the name? Shall I not keep it? So it was kind of like I have a lot of questions in my head. And some people said, just keep it, you know, it's like, you know, because you're talking about his art, you're not talking about his, you know, personality, which is also important.
Exactly. You're focusing on the artistic part rather than his own
exactly
personal life, which is like a little bit controversial, right? So
exactly.
Let's stick to the art.
Yeah.
And my last question to you, Nada, is about the future. Every artist has ambition, has dreams, has plans for the future. What are some of your own future dreams and plans as an artist and an activist also at the same time?
Really, like one of my biggest dreams is like kind of exhibit my artwork in big museums and have my artwork like purchased by like, you know, organizations like the United Nations, like, you know, it's not like an art collector. That's why I try not to sell too many pieces of my artwork. I want my art to be exhibited in a place where everyone learned from the experiences that I went through. So, and that's one of my dreams, and also like kind of create my own space where I can teach, educate about like, you know, the art, the Syrian art, Middle Eastern art and culture, and create all those experiences.
Fantastic. So that's really a big dream. I definitely wish you a lot of success and a
Oh,
lot of
thank
good
you.
luck with this project and having your own space and your own exhibition to carry on your very important mission, both as an artist and also as an activist.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Sahar.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Nada, for giving us your precious time and also sharing all of this interesting insight with me and with our listeners and viewers today.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm happy that we had the opportunity to meet and talk. And, you know, your beautiful questions were very easy to answer. And I truly appreciate it. It was very nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much. And thanks a lot to all our listeners and viewers everywhere. Take care, stay blessed, and goodbye.